Testing, one, two, testing. Test, test, test. Hello. Happy Tuesday. So, today what we're going to do, I've been going to be going on a campaign here now on learning how to read. Now, some people know how to read somewhat. Some people's reading skills are not so-so. And somebody who's been a player for a long time can read very well. For those guys, if you want to remain, it's always good to revisit my basics, basically, and my approach. For those who don't know how to read, or this is a new zone, let's get the Syncopation book. That's the Ted Reed book, and we're going to work from that book today. Now, whoever is watching, it would be very appreciative of you to get into the chat and say hello. I don't know if Frederick or Ross or Mike or, you guys are shy or you're on a phone, you're not able to get in. But you should be able to hear me and see me. And today we're working from the Syncopation book. And we're going to actually go to ground zero on what drum notation is, what clef it's written in, who's this? Beat Lab Music. What's your first name there, pal? Howdy. Talk to me somewhat before I could get into the lesson, and tell me where you're from, how long you've been playing, and can you read? Brad. Okay, Brad. Now, Brad, how are your reading skills? Have you ever learned how to read, or you're a seasoned player? I don't know, because with these lessons are geared for students who don't have very little experience in reading. You know, I have some sheets. Okay, well, good. Well, then welcome. Then perhaps you could share my approach and agree with it or disagree with it. That's cool. We're working at a Syncopation book, but we're starting with ground zero because, okay, good for you. Good for you. Okay. Maybe I should study with you or take some lessons or... But anyway, what I was saying, if anybody would like the PDFs on today's lesson, on note description and some reading and some definitions, email me. I'll put my email in here. And you could email me and I'll send you the PDFs and put you on my mailing list as well. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's my email. If you'd like to get it on my mailing list, or you want to know what's up and coming with my lessons, and you want PDF sheets, I'll send them to you. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing for a while, and I have a lot of students or a lot of friends on Facebook, for example, or on here, YouTube, that just do not know how to read. Now, I figure I would start with the Ted Reed Syncopation book. Now, I never heard Ted Reed play, but I've been using his book for like 40 years. All right, that along with the stick control book. It's a great book, and there's about 1,000 different ways to play some of this stuff. A lot of the Dawson method I interject in the Morello method. Anyway, let's talk about the Syncopation book. My cover just broke this morning, and it's by Ted Reed. Excuse me. Just read a little bit about Ted Reed, all right? And if there's anything here, you play with a metronome, bing-a-bong, and all that good stuff. What we're going to do, we're going to start with page 4. That's the beginning. All right, on page 4, what you have is just some basic reading. You have, first of all, you have to know what a staff is, And here you have a C, which means common time. Common time means 4/4 time. Okay, and you are in the bass clef instead of the percussion clef. That's how long ago this was written. Okay, anyway, let's talk about a definition, and this is all math. 4/4 time, or common time. It's the same thing. It's so common, that's why it's called common time, 4/4. There are 4 beats to a measure, and each quarter note receives 1 count or 1 beat. Now, if you open up the page, 4, that's lesson 1. All right, we're going to do the first line. The first line, you have a note on the snare line, and you have a note on the bass line. Well, to me, the bass line, you know, it don't have to be written, but hey, you want to play the bass drum 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I'm counting this particular system or this particular page, I'm using a quarter note count, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, in a way, it's good to play that. I'm always playing the bass drum 1, 2, 3, 4 anyway. I don't have to be told. But it's good if you're playing this on a drum set, okay? Because now you learn how to feather the bass drum in. Now, if you know what feathering the bass drum is, it's played very light, like it's more or less implied than heard, like so. I hope you can hear that. 1, 2, 3. Now, if I want to explode it, it'd be. So in a way, it's good to practice some dynamics with the bass drum. Now, I'm going to do the first line. All it is constant quarter notes. Now, like I said, it's in 4/4. There's 4 beats to a measure. Now, in each quarter note receives 1 count or 1 beat. So if there's 4 quarters, you add them up, you come up with 4/4, 4 quarters. Now, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a quarter note system. I'm going to play my bass drum on 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have 1, 2, feathering in, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I approach the first line in a quarter note count. I could also approach this with an eighth note count. An eighth note count is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play that same line but with a different count. My bass drum still remains on 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to play the line 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I could also take an approach as triplets or 16th notes, but we're not going to go there right now. Let's go now to the second line. The second line, it's 4 consistent measures of the same thing. The first measure, all right, the first note is a quarter note rest. Now, what does that mean? For those who don't, it means it's the beat is there, but you're counting it, but you're not playing it. So if I played without the bass drum, second line, first measure, and I'm counting in quarter notes, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I did not play the 1. Now I want to play the bass drum now on 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do the same line again. This time I'm going to play it this way it's written, but I'm going to count the system in eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. Now it's basically a simple page. Now when I first started this study, I said, well, what do I have to learn how to read for? You know, and then learning how to read, that part of the lesson was pretty cold and bland and shallow. you know, you do, your assignment was to do page 1 and 2 this week. You go back for your next lesson. Then you're on 3 and 4 until you complete the book, and then you go on to another book. That's pretty shallow. What I like to do is have a lot of fun with the reading. So what I'm going to do, does anybody here have any questions on page 4 of the stick control book? I mean, the syncopation book. I'm so infested with that in my brain. Anyway, any questions on that page? Because I want to have a little fun. I want to show you some variations to actually have some good fun and to develop some four-way coordination. So I'm going to say it one more time. You can go into the chat and say, yep, no questions. Okay, I understand. No questions, whatever. Can you please do that? So here's what we're going to do if there's no questions. Okay, I should have my music stand. Unfortunately, I didn't put it there. But anyway, here we're going to go. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a little fun. What we're going to do is we're going to play the bass drum 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to play the hi-hat, a heel and toe method. Heel and toe method, I'm counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And my heel is going to be on the counts of 1 and 3. The heel comes down to open up the hat. On the count of 2, it closes to make the chick. On the count of 3, it opens up. On the count of 4, it comes back down. So I have this with the bass drum and with the hi-hat. 1 and 2 and heel and toe. Heel and toe and heel and toe. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's pretty good. I mean, that's your basic concept. What we're going to do now is we're going to, with the left hand, we're going to play constant eighth notes. Now, I refer to this as a vamp. However, if I'm going to use the bass drum and the snare drum and the hi-hat over and over and over and over and over again, I can refer to this as an ostinato pattern. I'm going to play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Simple. So, up-tempo a little bit, it'd be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pretty simple. The bass drum's 1, 2, 3, 4, hi-hat 2 and 4, and I'm playing constant eighth notes with the left hand. Now what I want to do is take the page and play the first line, all what's there, excuse me, with all what is there with my right hand on the floor tom-tom. So I take that first line, I go 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so I'm playing what's there with my right hand on the floor tom-tom against this. Pretty simple. It makes it a little bit more interesting. So you're actually reading the line, and you're developing some sort of ostinato pattern and some four-way coordination. Now, that's one way to do that with the left hand on the snare. The other way would be to play the right hand now, eighth notes on the hi-hat. When I do that, I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2. I'm using a down, up, so I'm getting a push. My bass drum is 1, 2, 3, 4 again. And I'm going to play the line with my left hand. We understand that, gentlemen? Okay. Now, I really don't want to spend a whole lot of time, if not need be, on the first couple lines of the syncopation book. However, we can go over to page 10. Does everybody have the syncopation book in front of them? Page 10. Okay. Page 10. We have a combination of quarter notes and eighth notes. Here, when you first start, this is line 1, page 10. When I first start this, I'm going to use the eighth note counting system. And I'm going to play my bass drum 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's the counting system with the bass drum. Now, I have 2 eighth notes. The first measure, 2 eighth notes, 3 quarter notes. It's all math. If I add all that up, it comes out to 4, 4. 2 eighths reduced equals 1 quarter, and an additional 3 more quarters equals 4 quarters. There's 4 beats, or 4 4 times, 4 over 4. Okay? So now let's do the first line. Now, I like to use an alternate stroke. I don't lift the stick and throw it. Again, there's a lot of technical issues here with my stroking method. I have a ton of videos on my channel that you could watch, how I stroke and how I develop the sound out of my snare drum or my drum pad or whatever you want to play on. So let's do the first line. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and ready now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now notice when I'm stroking, I'm not lifting and coming down. I'm starting at one point. So I'm getting the same sound from my right side and my left side. And there again, there's the George Lawrence Stone brilliance of how to develop the right side and the left side. Okay, first line complete. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1, 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, second line. He makes the shift. Instead of the 2 eighth notes on the first beat, he moves it over to the second downbeat. So you have 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4. Line 3. Again, he shifted the double eighth note over to the third downbeat. All right, so we have number 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But notice now, my right and my left stick, when making impact on the snare drum, is sounding the same. That comes from the stick control book exercises, how to develop to equalize the right and equalize the left. All right, let me move on to this line 5, a little up-tempo here. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Another thing I'd like to say here, at this particular point in time, if you're a beginner learning how to read, it's essential you count the eighth notes, totally. Eventually, you're going to count the notation as is. For example, I just did the line 5, the first measure, and I counted eighth notes straight through. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, when I'm up tempo a little bit, I'm not going to, that's a lot of counting. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Pop, 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 pop. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Understand that. Now, I'm going to go back to the first measure, first line. I'm going to play the line with my bass drum. What I'm doing is I'm playing eighth notes on the hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'm putting the backbeat on 2 and 4. 1, 2. Makes reading a lot of fun. Line 2. Just something different as opposed to straight ahead being shallow and not making reading a whole lot of fun. I could go on and on and on with 1,000 different ways on the same page. I don't want to bore anybody though. But it becomes quite challenging eventually, especially if I'm going to play the first line as a samba. I'm sure that we all know what a samba is. I'm going to play the line now with my left hand. That's a whole nother zone. But it's just not reading. I can play it syncopated. So on and so forth. I'm not going to go into all those details. I need some questions, some response in the chat. Now, Brad, the Beat Lab Music. Brad, where are you from, Brad? Anybody here? I hope. Okay. Brad, where are you from? What state? No response. Okay. Well, I'm going to be doing every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Not Friday's a day off. 1 p.m. reading. I will be working from the syncopation book. Excuse me. My reading text in 4/4 and 6/8. And the Louis Bellson 4/4 reading and his odd time reading. Well, we're going to get into that. But I have to start somewhere in the beginning. And if anyone has missed the lesson or wants to review the lesson, it's being filmed right now, or taped or recorded. It will be on YouTube after I complete the lesson, about 10 minutes after. And you can, if you subscribe to my channel, look at it. All right? Is there any questions, any problems? I would really appreciate a response. Now, I want to do another different way of, yeah, okay. Let me do this. Let me go do this line again. And we're going to have a fun pattern going on with it. I'm going to play 16th notes on the hat. I'm going to accent the 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E. The sticking method is down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up. 1 E, 2 E and 3 E and a 4 E and a. Then I'm going to put a downbeat on 2 and 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. And play the line down with my bass drum. 1 E and a 2 E and a, I'm sorry, 2 E and a 3 E and 4 E. Let me get it. 1 E and a. Actually, I don't like that. It's a little strange. Yeah. Okay, no response, no questions. I don't know if it's because you're on a phone, you can't get into the chat, but there's quite a few people watching, and I'm getting no response. Brad, you still here? Now remember, I'll be back tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m., and we're going to continue, and I'm going to do a drum pad as opposed to a drum set, both drum pad and drum set demonstration. So if you're going to attend this lesson on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, please have a syncopation book, and we'll work from there. Have questions. And as far as the sticking pattern or the sticking technique or the heights or the levels, I do have, like I said, a ton of videos on my channel demonstrating that. So subscribe to my channel and view the videos. Bring some questions. I'm going to ask one more time. Any more questions? Or any questions, for that matter. Not a problem. Hey, Brad, where are you from? Michigan. Okay. I was in Michigan, Ann Arbor, Benton Harbor. I was out in the Midwest for about 3 or 4 years in Indiana. I played a couple places in Michigan a while back. Nice state. Cold. Real cold. And when it snows, it snows. It's the green by Wisconsin and all that good stuff. Anyway, northern Michigan, that's cold. Good for you. I will be at Passaic this year in Indiana. That's Indianapolis. 14 inches of snow. My God. Wow. Okay. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. If you missed any part of the lesson, like I said, it's being recorded as we speak. And you could go back and watch the video if you or the lesson if you'd like, if anything you watched. So 14 inches of snow. You've been playing 30 plus years, and you're a good reader. Okay. Email me and give me some information on you. We'll develop a friendship. Or if we're on Facebook, friend me. I have 4 accounts. Well, all drummers. Okay, with that being said, what I'm going to do is sign off, because these are only a half hour to maybe 45-minute lessons. So I believe that should be enough for today, and I will see everyone tomorrow, whoever would like to come, at 1 p.m. Thank you. Have a good day.